soon after its birth, South Sudan was plunged into chaos. A nation torn apart by political strife. The stakes were high, and the road to peace seemed unattainable. Amid uncertainty, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, stood as a symbol of hope and a reason for optimism. At the time, nothing demanded attention more than the need to resolve what was escalating to be a bloody, divisive conflict in the world's youngest republic. Charged with this delicate and noble mission of restoring the belief of the world's youngest nation was the Office of the Special Envoy for South Sudan.
IGAD appointed 3 special envoys in that process. It was from Ethiopia, from Sudan, and from Uganda, from Kenya. Work well done. The mediation went well, but there was also some challenge even with the mediation, because if there was a frictionless and smooth mediation, then of course we wouldn't have gone then 2 years after the mediation again into a conflict. We wouldn't have run into a conflict in South Sudan.
The envoys went to work and in no time secured a peace agreement that they hoped would last the test of time and the strains of nation building.
It's the youngest republic in the continent. It's also a country which was in fact waging a very long, tedious, and very dangerous war of more than 60 years. When South Sudan became independent, we all had hopes that this country would be also a country that can contribute to the development of the region and also fulfill the wishes and the hopes of the South Sudanese themselves.
The peace, however, did not hold, and in 2015, just 2 years later, the peace agreement collapsed, setting the special envoys once again on another journey in search of peace. But even in this failure, there were lessons that were learned.
More than 19 reservations that the president that time, General Salva Kiir Mayardit, had about the mediation and about the agreement. There was no unification of forces. That means there were many forces, in Juba, in the same town, with different commander-in-chief. One of them was Riek Machar, and the other one was the president Salva Kiir Mayardit. Therefore, we have to introduce a new agreement, which is started by the High-Level Revitalization Forum, in order to reform the structure and also take the lessons learned from the first agreement.
This process, though, was not without challenges. South Sudan was a new nation, hardly a decade old, yet on its shoulders were placed expectations similar to those on the shoulders of its much older nations. Systems and institutions were to be created afresh. Among them was just not to ensure coexistence between the political class, but to midwife reforms across multiple sectors, including the judiciary.
The reform we have started in 2018 is still ongoing, and until the final process is concluded and the critical components of the peace process is implemented, this reform will also continue.
It was one of the activities that had to be undertaken in order to move the peace agreement into the transitional phase. It was established, first of all, when the vice presidents were appointed and they were sworn into office, and subsequently the Council of Ministers were also appointed and put in place. And those were positive developments.
In 2022, The formation of an ad hoc judicial review committee, JRC, laid the groundwork for an independent judiciary and post-conflict justice transformation through the National Constitution Amendment Committee.
Out of the 15 listed laws in the agreements, we have completed 10. We are remaining with 5, and we've also done 4 amendments of the Constitution.
People of all ages, from the young to the elderly, were eager to make their contributions to a process that would be critical in state building. The committee embarked on a sweeping nationwide expedition, leaving no one behind in their quest for public input.
A woman who appeared before the Judicial Reform Committee in Yambio. This was a lactating mother, and she, in that condition, felt that she could not miss the opportunity to appear before the Judicial Reform Committee to give her views. So she came with a baby that she was breastfeeding, and that just spoke a lot to me as to how enthusiastic, how the South Sudanese are yearning for a system that can address their needs insofar as justice is concerned. It was a very touching scene.
As peace took root, the Office of the Special Envoy for South Sudan, OSESS, continues supporting implementation and engaging communities as the country prepares for the 2024 general elections.
We have amended the Elections Act, which means it will be the basis for which the elections will be done next year. So we have incorporated provisions for the making of the permanent constitution in the current constitution, which means that the 2 main activities expected to facilitate the transition, which is the making of the permanent constitution and the holding of the elections to take us to the next dispensation. We have laid the framework for that.
Behind these transformative efforts was the critical role played by partnerships. One among them is the IGAD Promotion of Peace and Security in the Horn of Africa, IPSHAR project. IPSHAR is a partnership between IGAD and the European Union. A critical coming together of ideas that has been critical in enabling not just the OSESS program to attain its objectives, but in the overall peace and security strategy of IGAD.
Our peace and security strategy contributes to our member states' peace and security because mainly it is based on the regional context, and secondly, it is mainly guided by our member states, and it tries to address the interests of our member states. Collaboration and cooperation is very important. In that case, specifically when I came to IPSHAR project, IPSHAR is a very important project which implemented in our region, and it affirms the commitment of our partners that give attention to our peace and the security of the region.
I would like IPSHAR to continue supporting the implementation of the peace process for the mechanisms that are still working towards it, and to support the implementation of these laws that NCAC has worked on and passed.
I am very, very hopeful that South Sudan will move ahead in order to have a country that is guided by justice and liberty.
Hope springs eternal in the office of the Special Envoy of South Sudan. Hope defines ambitions and aspirations of the office, a true reflection of the goals of the people of the country.
To bring the region closer to one another, to have a joint platform where we can discuss our economic difficulties and problems, and where we can also share the burdens of developing our region, and at the same time where we also face together all the challenge, climate problems, droughts, natural calamities, and also political problems. so that we can jointly really solve our problems.
A partnership that has given rise to the promise of lasting peace and justice. It is a testament to what can be achieved when nations and individuals come together with a shared vision for a better future.